Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. We are here for another coffee stream, and I'm almost back to 100%. My throat is still a bit sore, as I'm sure you can hear. There's still some croakiness there, but we'll get through it. We will get through it together. So we've got lots to talk about, got a couple of fun videos to do, and then we've got some politics to talk about. So, yeah, and of course, our good old friend Mr. Poilievre is back in the House of Commons, because he was only suspended for one day for, refusing to kowtow to the Speaker of the House, despite the fact that Trudeau and his buddies were calling Poilievre and conservative people white supremacists and far right. That's apparently okay. And it's okay to call him an extremist, but it's not okay for Poilievre to point out when Trudeau is doing radical and extremist things. So, yeah, that was an interesting development yesterday for the House of Commons, and we will see what happens today with that fallout. 'Cause wow, was that ever interesting? Just fascinatingly, I couldn't believe the double standards that were happening. It was crazy. And I was glad we got to watch it in real time. Because there's nothing like watching stuff like that in real time. And then when people try to tell you don't know what you're talking about in regards to politics, you can just point to that and ask them, what live House of Commons proceedings are you watching that, in regards to this, that I'm not. It's a very good feeling to be educated on what is going on in the country, and that's the best defense against people like Trudeau, is watching the way that he carries on, watching the way that the House of Commons proceeds under his government, and demanding better. That's the best way. And as I keep saying, we're still in a position where we have the ability to make our voices heard. We're not there yet. We're not in a dictatorship yet. We can still talk. So it's important that we talk. Now, before we get into the politics, I would like to share some fun things with you. Particularly this guy. Pinkalo showed me him last night. His name is Master Ken. And Pinkalo showed me showed me his thing about how to deal with someone in a wheelchair. And then he sent me this one to watch and laugh at. It's called Master Ken, How to Fight a Blind Guy. So let's take a look.
Today's video is brought to you by Shade Tree Sunglasses. These premium wood frame sunglasses are handmade, polarized, and provide 100% UV protection. They also come with a microfiber bag and a bamboo case with every order, and shipping in the US is always free. Oh, and they also make socks. See them?
That was funny.
I'll take them off. Master Ken here with another secret street fighting tip. Recently, a student asked me how a Meridote would deal with the issue of a blind attacker. This, of course, falls into something we've addressed before, a category that I like to call destructive disableds.
Destructive disableds. I like it. Hey, Fury Kitten. What's up? I like that. Destructive disableds.
The idea being that just because someone is disabled doesn't mean they can't be a threat to you, so we have to evaluate that. What are the advantages of being blind in a fight? Well, first of all, he's unpredictable. Because I don't know where he's swinging, and neither does he.
Oh, fuck off!
So if he connects and he doesn't even know that the target is there, he could really take my head off. Number two, he is not susceptible to feints or fakes or visual distractions.
But he could be susceptible to an auditory feint. Like if you made a sound like you were gonna punch him from the left, but then you came in from the right, you could still feint a blind guy out.
Like so. See, he can't see any of that. Number three, it is generally considered socially acceptable for a blind person to carry a walking stick everywhere. Bars, restaurants, planes. So he's most likely going to have a weapon on him.
You're damn fucking straight. It's a good weapon. I've used my cane as a weapon before, both extended and folded up. It's quite handy.
End up in a fight with a blind person. Big advantage. How do we deal with these? We just go through them one at a time. First thing he's likely going to want to do is use that weapon with depth perception. He's going to want to know where his opponent is. You notice if you ever try to sweep the paws out from under a cat, they'll sort of just prance over your hands, okay, by keeping their balance. This is a technique I've adapted for a Meridote. I call it the pussy prance.
The pussy prance?
Okay, so now he's really in the dark. He doesn't know where I am. So I'm going to use another technique that's really out of sight. It's called throwing your voice. Visual distractions don't work, so I'm going to do an audible one. I'm going to take my voice, say it close, throw it far. This is something that is known as being bivocal. Ho!
Oh my god, that sounded so funny.
Okay, now he's angry. He's going to use that weapon, swinging it around. I'm going to grab hold of it, stun him. Okay, now I'm going to sweep him off his feet. And as always, re-stomp that groin.
We stomped that groin.
That's how you deal with a blind attacker. I'm Master Ken. It's another secret street fighting tip. Us. I think one of those lights is out. What do you think, Tom? Well, you can. I'll check it. Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh my god, that's so fun. What if you're blind? What if you don't? This is. Oh! Whack! Oh my god. That was too funny. That was too funny. Oh my god. He's just cups his hands around his mouth and calls it being bivocal. That was hilarious. Oh my god. That was too funny. Oh my god, why does that make me laugh so hard? Oh. Oh my god. That was just too funny. That was... And there are so many people who would get so pissed off at that. I don't understand why, but people get too offended for all the wrong reasons, but that was just too funny. Fury kittens. It isn't like clapping next to someone's ears isn't distracting to sighted people either, and is a non-violent intervention I've used to fuck with drunk crowds. Hey, that works. Yeah, clapping next to somebody's ears. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good trick that I didn't think about actually. And you're right, it wouldn't matter whether they're sighted or not. It would hurt and be disorienting. Okay. Somebody asked Asmongold if he had advice for new streamers.
Yeah. Biggest thing is to give yourself like a regimented schedule.
Oh.
Because you have to think about
it. Not Asmongold, Pirate Software.
Like this, and this is something a lot of people don't remember, especially when they're just starting out. What you're doing is a TV show. If people tune in and they have a routine of watching you, and suddenly you decide to just, kind of shit the bed, have no schedule, just stream at random times, how are they going to be able to tune in? Imagine if your TV show started at a random time every day. That sucks. You wouldn't watch it.
Nope.
Probably give up on it, right? Need to have a schedule. Schedule's huge. Any advice for new streamers?
So that's why I'm doing this at 11 every day, and I do the combat hour at 9:30 every night. Because I try my best to be as consistent as I can. Because I understand that that's why a lot of times people have a hard time watching was when I was being really inconsistent. So I'm trying harder to be more consistent and be here every day and provide you guys with some good entertainment. Because I enjoy streaming. I enjoy doing the commentary. And you guys clearly are enjoying it because you guys are here when I'm consistent. So let's keep this going. All right. So now we're going to move on to our articles. Don't insult our accents and other lessons from the French cancel or the Quebec cancel mob. I jokingly said the French Canadian accent was an affront to Canadian dignity and a tsunami of hate. I jokingly said the French Canadian accent was an affront to human dignity, and a tsunami of rage ensued. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Okay. Cannibalistic Wizard, is that you? Oh my goodness. The Quebec government just announced that it will be spending $603 million over the next 5 years to strengthen the supposed vitality of the French language. Perhaps part of the money will be spent to ensure that Quebecers such as myself never joke again about the French-Canadian accent. Hey, immigrant, know your place. Yeah, he's French-Canadian. Gad Sad is French-Canadian. And he was not apparently allowed to say that the French-Canadian accent is horrible. Yeah, I did notice who wrote this. It's Gad Sad. Yeah, I've noticed. Which I don't take much of what Gadsad says seriously, but this is kind of funny. In my 30-year career as a professor and public intellectual, okay. I thought it was hilarious that I saw somebody that we all know in the National Post. Yeah, yeah, that is funny that he's in the National Post. And according to one of my exes, so does hard anal. Whoa! All right then. What's it called? Public intellectual. I have never shied away from tackling sacred cows as a free speech absolutist. I firmly believe that short of the usual caveats in brackets, e.g., direct incitement to violence, defamation, free speech is a deontological, Jesus Christ, principle that is inviolable as a Jewish person. I support arguably the most offensive speech possible, namely the denial of the Holocaust. Such is the price that we must pay to live in a truly free society. Well, saying that the Holocaust didn't happen is not an incitement of violence. So, and also, we should allow people to say stupid things like that so we can point out how stupid they are. Holy crap. I am losing my, I am losing my voice. From Uncle Sod. Okay. As I explain in my 2020 book, The Parasitic Mind, How Infectious Ideas Are Killing Common Sense, the operative zeitgeist in the West is that one's speech should be tempered in order to minimize the prospect of hurt feelings. This is a terrible reflex in that it forces people to engage in arguably the most pervasive form of censorship, self-censorship. The reality, though, is that truth must be anti-fragile to mockery, derision, satire, criticism, and scrutiny. If it cannot stand such stressors, it is undoubtedly false, or, as the philosopher Peter Sloterdijk remarked in Critique of Cynical Reason, how much truth is contained in something can be best determined by making it thoroughly laughable and then watching to see how much joking around it can take. For truth is a matter that can stand mockery, that is fresh by any ironic gesture directed at it. Whatever cannot stand satire is false. This brings me to a bewildering episode that I faced last summer. My God, Gadsad loves to hear himself talk, doesn't he? How did Francais get changed to Francois? Huh? I don't think the Parisians can really count what's French anymore, considering most of them speak English now anyway. La library, right? La library, le shopping, le weekend. Get to the point, dude. Let's skip Oh my god. This article is literally to push his books. He got the National Post to take an article of his that was literally just to sell his books. Where is the point about... Oh my god, where is it? Yes, you were born and raised in Lebanon, which was a French protectorate. Okay. In my current book on happiness, I dedicate an entire chapter on playtime and how life is a playground. Oh my god, okay, no, fuck this. This is retarded. You're literally pushing your book. You don't actually have a point. That is sad. That is absolutely pathetic. I should have known when I saw Gad Sad that he was just gonna go blah 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 me, blah 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 me. Just wow. That's pretty sad. That is just... That was just pathetic. Okay. Brian Lilly says that Trudeau, not Poilievre, debased the House of Commons with the Speaker's help. Yeah. And then the fact that Trudeau just walked out halfway through. You're just like, okay, I'm bored. I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave now. I'm just bored. I think moon hoaxes, climate change, devotes political vegans, and pro-Europe rejoiner morons should be treated to the same standards as Holocaust deniers. I believe you're right. Dans le meanwhile, dans le meanwhiles. Oh my god, that's something that happens? I've never heard that before. Parliament sunk to a new low on Tuesday, led by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, aided by Greg Fergus, the weakest speaker in Canadian history. Ouch. That is quite the pronouncement. The weakest speaker. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's expulsion from question period was actually a sideshow rather than the main attraction as the disgraceful spectacle. Let's see. When asked about the very real issue of the opioid crisis in British Columbia, Trudeau resorted to baseless personal attacks. Last week, facing ever-increasing opioid overdose deaths, chaos from public drug use, BC's NDP premier asked the federal government to recriminalize hard drugs in most instances. The Liberal government had yet to give an answer on that And when Poilievre asked Trudeau about that issue, Trudeau ignored the it. I think he meant to say ignored it, opting instead for personal attacks. The quote, the leader of the Conservative Party is actively courting the support of groups with white nationalist views, and he needs to stand up and apologize now, Trudeau said. Yeah, white nationalist, white supremacist, all those words are okay. But it's totally not okay to point out how extreme that Trudeau has been. Uncle Gad likes his voice as much as he likes to remind us about football. Walked as generous, I would say flounced. He flounced out of Parliament like a little girl. Trudeau and his Liberal Party have been banging on this trope for days, or hanging on this trope for days, banging on this drum for days, desperate for anything to turn around their sagging polling numbers. Their claim that Poilievre met with white nationalists is due to an impromptu stop the Conservative leader made to chat with anti-carbon tax protesters on a highway near the New Brunswick-Nova Scotia border. So this happened last week. Spotted in the background of a photo in the group is a small diagonal symbol drawn onto the side of a camper parked at the protest site. That's it. That's the entire claim, that he's courting extremists. So why won't Poilievre denounce this group? First off, that's not who he met with. It's just their tiny logo drawn on the side of a camper with a bunch of other logos, including the peace symbol and a heart. Secondly, he already denounced Diagolon 2 years ago when leaders of this group recorded a podcast that included threats of raping Poilievre's wife. Yeah. So these guys, so the government is accusing Poilievre of courting a group that threatened to rape his own wife. Brilliant. He called them dirtbags, losers, and odious, and said their views had no place in Canada. Oh, gee! It's almost like he denounces extremist views. Isn't that amazing? It's almost like Poilievre has a spine. That is the photo that everyone had the Pierre Poilievre is drunk hashtag. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. This is ridiculous. But again, Trudeau is desperate. Another poll was released Tuesday morning showing that despite his big spending budget, Poilievre and his Conservatives have a 20-point lead in the popular support. So the Liberals keep making baseless claims accusing Poilievre of being a white supremacist and anti-immigrant, despite being married to a Venezuelan immigrant. Yeah. Yeah, he's married to an immigrant. Oh my goodness.
Check message input. Add pink hello the driving moderator. His voice doesn't crack like the Liberals, that's why they call him a weak speaker.
His voice doesn't crack. Weakest speaker, that's a bit harsh. At least when he takes an obvious partisan position, he stands by it. I know speakers that... Oh, rather than those little pissants that take a neutral or egalitarian standpoint. His voice doesn't crack like the Liberals, that's why they call him a weak speaker. Oh. Okay. Rather than play the game the Liberals want him to play, Poilievre stood up and said he condemned Trudeau's court of dress up. Wait, he condemned Trudeau's record of dressing up in racist costumes. Yep, which was amazing. I wish this would stop refreshing, though. This is very annoying. I also condemn the extremism of a prime minister who gives hundreds of thousands of dollars of anti-racist money to a Jew hater who has proposed shooting Jews in the head. I condemn a prime minister who allows the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran, which murdered 55 Canadians, to remain legal, and I condemn a prime minister that allows the use of crack, heroin, meth, and weapons in hospital rooms that threaten nurses and sit on school buses next to children. Will the prime minister reverse his extremist policies? Poilievre asked. At that point, Trudeau stood up and said that Poilievre was showing us exactly what shameful, spineless leadership looks like. That is unparliamentary language and not allowed according to the rules, but Fergus didn't stop Trudeau and allowed him to keep making personal attacks to Poilievre. And his wife's not bad, she's like a 6.5. Oh, cool. It was only when Conservative MPs were shouting Fergus down that he acted. Get it together, Greg, when MP could be heard yelling from the Conservative benches. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Called out another. Yup. We heard that. We heard all of that happening. And it was amazing. Fergus then stood, and instead of chastising the Prime Minister, he turned his attention toward Conservative MP Rachel Thomas, who had challenged Fergus's lack of reaction. The chair is acting in a disgraceful manner, said Thomas. For refusing to withdraw, Thomas was ejected. Fergus, a Liberal MP who has shown favoritism toward the Liberal government since being elected as Speaker last fall, then told the Prime Minister he could restart his answer, but never asked him to withdraw the unparliamentary language. Yep. Why did I not denounce... What? These public denouncement claims are beyond moronic. They are. We heard all of that happen, and Ferguson had to stop it all and say it was catcalling. Yep. It was catcalling. It was unparliamentary. That same courtesy was not afforded to Poilievre when he again asked the drug policy in BC, calling it a wacko policy from this wacko Prime Minister. Unlike when Trudeau used unparliamentary language, Fergus was on his feet, chastising Poilievre immediately, demanding he withdraw his comment. Most conservative MPs followed their leader out of the chamber. Oh! That's what happened. So I guess because Poilievre and everybody else left in protest, Trudeau, figured he didn't have to show up? He figured he didn't have to stay? I don't understand. I didn't realize that most conservative MPs left with. I would too. This has to be the lowest point for Fergus as speaker. He lost complete control of the Commons. He doesn't seem to have the skills or respect needed to operate as speaker and should step down as soon as possible. It's never a good look for an MP to be ejected, especially not the leader of the opposition, but this all started with Trudeau debasing the House of Commons in question period. Trudeau's desperation is leaving a stink on all of Parliament. It's true. It's so obvious how desperate he is and how willing he is to do basically anything to get this swept under the rug. And it's very, very scary that we have these MPs that can't even rein in their own bias. Hiccups. They can't rein in their own bias and look at their leader and be like, hey, that's not okay. You can't do that. I find that very disturbing. Very disturbing. That does not sit well with me. Yeah, and they're just gonna cry racism if he loses his job because he's black. Oh, Jesus Christ. Of course. Of course. Of course they would. Oh my goodness. Okay. Now you know what we're going to do before we jump into our question period? We are going to take a look at just something interesting. Just something funny. I saw Code Blue Cam that I wanted to watch on stream. So I want to do that before we switch to question period. Where are we here? Where are we? No, we saw that one. We're going to go to the channel because I saw they have a video and it's got a funny title. And I want it. Where is it? Where is it? Holy crap. It's like, okay. Now we're in the earlier ones. We're almost there. Where are we? How a drug dealer's worst fear came true.
In June...
That's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. I knew it was there. I knew it. I knew it. Ah, so that's where the opposing bench went. Yep. Yeah, the remainder of the session there appeared to be an empty opposing bench. Yeah, they all walked out in protest, which I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. I do not blame them at all. I would have done the same thing. Okay. Take it away, Code Blue Cam.
In June 2023, police received several tips concerning the illicit sale of drugs in the area of Coon Valley, Wisconsin. Based on information obtained from a reliable source, 33-year-old Stanley Holt and 39-year-old Julia Lloyd were allegedly involved with trafficking significant amounts of methamphetamine and fentanyl throughout La Crosse, Vernon,
of course, La Crosse,
and Monroe counties in Wisconsin, as well as in Houston County in Minnesota. Additionally, there were reports suggesting that Julia was expecting to receive a large amount of fentanyl in the mail.
Oh, good. I love when my fentanyl comes in the mail. That makes it so much easier.
Following this, deputies and investigators from various law enforcement agencies were called upon to aid the La Crosse Police Department in executing a search warrant at the suspect's residence in Coon Valley, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah. That house definitely requires disillusionment.
For safety concerns and to prevent evidence tampering, police opted to contact Stanley and Julia away from their residence before conducting the search warrant. Stanley has a history of evading law enforcement, resisting arrest, and violent confrontations with officers. Furthermore, he was on probation for offenses, including possession with intent to distribute amphetamine, resisting arrest resulting in officer injury, and armed burglary. He was also released from prison in early 2022 after serving time for drug charges. On June 12th, during surveillance, an investigator observed Stanley leave his residence and follow another vehicle to a village park, where a male from the other vehicle entered Stanley's before leaving.
Oh, good. Let's do a drug deal in a park.
Later, a deputy noticed Stanley and the unidentified male parked on a roadside, likely engaging in a drug deal. When the deputy approached, they quickly got back into the car.
Like Julia.
Hey, I'm out with the vehicle here, ATM 4222 lane. I think this is them. Occupied ×2. They're continuing ahead of me.
A traffic stop was then initiated, during which Stanley pulled into a random driveway. As the deputy approached Stanley's vehicle, he claimed he was having car problems.
Oh, your car's
We need a Boris in our parliament. We do.
acting up, but it looks like a nice car.
It's alright.
It's alright.
Gotcha. Cool. Alright, that's a cool car.
It's got some electric problems.
You guys live up here somewhere? Or?
I live right here.
Oh, okay.
My dad owns it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love the cops that always try to be like super nice. They're like, oh, that's nice, eh? Oh, nice.
Perfect. I actually need to talk to you about something about some dogs. Can you come back here and talk with me real quick?
Dog?
Yeah, yep. Just come back here and talk with me quick. 15, I'm gonna be out with that party here. You guys got some pit bulls?
I got one. He's got like tumors all over him. He's
Your
old.
pit bull does?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's old. He's 14.
Gotcha. Okay.
He has these.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, here, stand.
He has these,
here. I need you to turn around, put your hands behind your back for a second, okay? Yep.
What?
Yep, you're being really cool, but I just need to talk. We just need to detain you for a second here, okay?
Why?
Because I told you to. Turn around behind your.
Because
we have
I
some stuff
told
we need to
you
talk
to.
with you about.
That never sits well with me.
Okay.
Huh? What are you talking
Stanley, turn around and put your hands behind your back.
Who is that?
Stanley, I'm not going to keep telling you. Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
What are you talking about?
Stanley,
Stop.
Stanley, turn around and put your hands.
Oh yeah. The cop is so enthusiastic. He really
Behind
is.
your back. Do it now.
Stanley.
Stop or I'm going to tase you. Taser, taser, taser.
Ow!
Ow!
Stop. I'm going to tase you again.
Behind your back. Behind your back, then. Behind your back. Then. Behind your back. You're going to get it again. Okay, behind your back.
Bring your hands behind your back. Do it now.
Behind your back, Stanley.
Get the guy in the other car.
Okay.
Then do it.
Then put your hand behind your
got
back.
me. You
Put
got
your
me.
hand behind your back.
Stop trying to fight, Stanley.
Need some help here.
Due to his continued resistance, an additional 50,000 volts were kindly provided.
I can't breathe.
Put your hands behind your back. Put it behind your back.
I can't breathe.
Put it behind your back. Taser, taser, taser.
Ow!
Put your hands behind your back.
Put your
I
hands behind your
can't
back.
breathe. Yes, you can.
Stop fighting, Stan. This is not going to help
I'm
you.
gonna run. I'm gonna cycle it again if you don't put your hands behind your back. Quit being stupid.
Please don't.
Please don't. Well, then I don't know what to tell you, dude. If you don't want it to happen, then stop resisting.
Ow! I can't stop.
15 log.
I'm good.
2 taser deployments and one.
I'm not doing nothing. Hey. Can you please? Ouch!
Don't move.
Stop moving.
Hey guys.
Stanley.
Let me breathe.
Okay.
Then
You
stop
are
trying to pull away
breathing.
from us.
I'm not. I'm cool. Come on. I'm f***ing handcuffed. I'm not going anywhere, dude.
That proves.
Stanley, can we remove this probe from your side?
What?
Can we pull this other probe out? Okay. Figured you wouldn't care, but we like to ask.
I didn't know it was still in there. Here, help me out.
Just hold on, buddy. Just sit up. Sit on your butt.
I can't breathe.
Right there.
Well, stop smoking meth, and then maybe you'll be able to breathe.
The second male occupant was also taken out of the vehicle and arrested.
Have you come back and sit on this seat here?
Why'd you try to run? Why were you running from us?
Running?
Jogging?
He just all of a sudden wants to freaking.
Wants to detain you.
You were getting a little sketched out, Stan.
Huh?
I can tell you were getting a little sketched out.
Huh?
Yeah?
Huh? What?
All right. Yeah, we're just going to sit here for right now, okay?
I smoked my cigarette.
Not right now.
What?
Maybe you're.
What? What do you mean no? What do you mean no? Are you telling me no? I've never heard that word in my life.
cooperative, Stan, right?
I was talking to him, and then he told me to put my hands behind my back for no reason.
Stan, I'm just gonna look at you, make sure there's no other probes in you anywhere. Okay? You feel any anywhere?
Yeah.
You got anything in your pocket?
So what does it do? Like actually shoot
I'm going to just
metal
double lock
prongs
these,
at
check
you?
these, and make sure they're double locked so they don't get tightened up on here, okay? All right, here, give me a second. I'll try to loosen it just a teeny little bit. Just hold still. You don't need to do anything.
Well, just hold on, okay?
Yeah, we'll
We'll explain it all.
you're going to find all about it in a second here.
Who's the other guy? Do you know what the other guy is? I think he was doing a delivery because they met down in the park. Yep. Hopped into his car and took a ride. Sitting at the stop sign, he's pulling in, and I'm trying to look down. But...
The lead investigator on this case is not here right now, okay? So it's going to be just a little bit, okay?
You got some in the car?
I didn't know they were up there already. Yeah, well, I just found that out.
I'm not gonna run.
You got to see. Okay, listen.
Well, you already did it once.
Yeah. I'm not gonna run. Well, you already tried. These infographics are outstanding. Well, the power of hello, overtly friendly conversation is a thing, and then you turn on the authority. Yep, that's true.
Really tight.
Well, we can maybe try to adjust them in a minute, but you haven't made this easier for yourself. This could have been real calm, real chill.
What?
Here, actually,
I don't even understand.
why don't we just use this car here? Yep. I'm just going to search you quick. Yep. that's why I told you were just being detained. Stan, I'm gonna check your pockets here quick, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
A search was conducted on Stanley, and a large roll of cash totaling more than $2,500 was discovered.
Because you're gonna go in the back of my car.
That must be
quite
fun.
a bit of cash here. I don't
Too
really
bad
want
it
that.
wasn't
You got
done
like a bag or
legally.
something?
You can put it on there.
You got a bag or something I can put some stuff in?
Yeah, we'll grab one.
I just don't want your money to blow away here. Probably won't be very happy if that happens.
I know you're being calm right now, but just give us a second.
I'm not.
That's something we can maybe talk here. I don't have a lighter for you right now, okay? Let me finish searching your stuff and we'll pockets, and once we find a lighter, maybe we can let you have one. You got any weapons or anything anywhere?
No weapons, man.
How about in the car?
No.
Okay.
No weapons, just a shitload of cash.
I appreciate
And
that,
meth.
but we did once already, so now you know we gotta like make sure it doesn't happen again, right? But you don't want to get tased again, right?
Dude, that shit hurt.
I imagine.
Yep, I'm just checking your pockets here because you're going to go in the back of my car and I don't want anything back there that shouldn't be there. Or any weapons or guns or anything like that.
You guys didn't read me any rights.
You're not being arrested. Well, at least you weren't before. You were just being detained. Detained, yep.
So what?
That means we were going to hang out a little bit and I was going to place you in handcuffs for both of our safety until somebody who needs to talk to you could get here. Get anything in your shoes at all?
No, you freak me out. Like,
Well, sorry if I freaked you out. I think before we have you sit in my car though, here, is there anything behind this belt buckle at all?
no.
Yes, I understand. See, that's the thing. I get that being placed in handcuffs and like being detained and stuff is probably very uncomfortable. But like, the more you freak out and resist, the more you catch shit like this.
What?
Take it off.
I love how he always sounds so surprised when he says what. He's like, what?
Hold on. You just don't want to miss anything.
He's just so surprised.
You're asking
What?
me about my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's about the dog?
What's that? You got a couple of shirts on there. Before we go in the car, I'd like you to humor me and just kick your shoes off for me real quick. We'll let you put them back on. I just want to make sure there's nothing in there. I've had a couple of bad experiences with that, so. Yeah, we're just checking.
So all you guys showed up for what? To talk to her.
Let's put your foot in there. I promise it's gonna all be explained to you here shortly, okay? You just gotta kind of bear with us, all right? Everything takes a little time. We're gonna take a walk over here real quick and just have a seat in the back of my car for a minute.
You put me in handcuffs.
What side do you want
And
Let's go on the passenger side. I can detain somebody
right, but you didn't
if I have a reason,
But you didn't tell me
and I did.
before. And what was the reason, sir?
We can talk about it. Just have a seat for me right now, okay?
I wish they would.
I never said that. If you keep being really cool and cooperative,
we'll need to talk about it. We'll talk about it. Just fucking talk about it.
I'll go see where your cigarettes went, okay? And then we'll talk. We'll see about it in a little bit. But right now, I'd like you to sit in my car for me, okay?
I mean, it's super cool.
I don't like handcuffs. They never fit properly. Well, you have big freaking thick muscular forearms. Ugh. You have like, it's like that when that Reacher where they had to like zip tie him and he just was like, like he just broke the freaking.
I tell you what, if you sit there, we'll light up a cigarette and you can smoke it and you can sit with your feet out of the car and just sit on the seat there. Will that work for you?
Promise?
I promise. Go ahead and sit down for me.
But obviously we're not taking the cuffs off.
Yep, yeah, the cuffs have to stay on. But if you sit down, I don't want you to fall over. Okay, just sit right there. Your mouth there.
You have a lighter in there too?
I saw one. Otherwise, I got one in my car. But you do have to sit down for me, all right? That's part of the deal.
A canine unit was then deployed on his vehicle, resulting in a positive alert.
Little excitement you didn't probably expect today, huh?
I don't know how long you guys will be. You might have to leave here.
We have a tow truck coming, so we'll get it out of here as soon as we can. And then we can move our cars.
I mean, we can get around it here, too.
Whatever you need us to move, let us know. We can move it.
No, that's fine. I just letting her know what's going on.
Okay.
Oh, just whoever that is.
Here, I got one in my car. Here, I'll grab one out of the front here quick.
Yeah, they just ended up pulling in here, so we didn't expect them to come here. Good, Bobby?
Maybe Matt, how? You got it. Matt's just better at lighting up smokes than I am. Yeah, yep. We're just going to hang out and we're not going to have any more problems.
When you told me, you gotta understand, I've been arrested a few times. And
Well,
okay.
Don't do
It's like some
stupid shit that
PTSD.
requires you to be
PTSD.
arrested, dude.
I don't know. When we crested the hill, Rich and I, they were on the ground fighting, the two burning guys and the target, and I ran over there.
I do a lot of proportional response and cuff training. Is part of that. You cuff and restrain hard for minimal time, then you switch to soft or flex. Okay. Interesting.
We're there, and he's on his stomach, but he wasn't giving us hands, so I gave him a couple of warnings, taser warnings, didn't do it, so I got him right in the back, and then he complied. But he had already been tased once, too, so I don't know if the second probe wasn't in him on that first taser.
And he's on his way down to the house, so who wants to go over there with somebody's thing? Has that been searched? I'll search it. I got a tow on the way. I'll go with you guys to meet Andy at the house.
All right, you guys take that.
Yep, I'll stay here and take that with you.
So why didn't you come to my house and stuff?
How would that have worked out? If you would have knocked on the door, I don't think you would have probably answered the door, would you? Seems to be how it usually works. I don't know. It's not my case. I'm just saying that that'd be my first thought. Okay, let's just sit down for me, all right? That's part of the deal, remember?
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, just have a seat for me.
I don't think they get any tighter.
Yeah, they're supposed to be tight. They're not really made for comfort.
Yeah, no, they're not like jewelry, dude. They're restrained.
Who is it that's coming to talk to you?
It's an investigator with the La Crosse Police Department.
What's he want?
That's what he's going to talk to you about. So I'm not going to, go into his stuff. I don't have the full story. Actually, I don't know that much of it. So it's going to be just stuff he needs to talk to you about. I think it'll all make sense to you eventually.
I see. What was so hard about saying that?
That the investigator was going to come talk to you? So would that have made any difference?
Yeah, I mean, at least tell a guy what's going on, not just.
If you want to go ahead and hop all the way in for me, okay? I guess he wants to talk to you at the sheriff's department. So that's what we're going to do, okay? We need to get going. I'm sorry.
One more cigarette.
All right, I'll let you have one, which is more than most officers would do, especially after you just ran from them and made you tase you. So, but anyway, I do need you to put your feet in the car so we can get going here, okay? Do you need a hand at all? You're kind of a big guy. Take it easy there.
Oh wait, no, it's
okay. Get in the car, Stanley.
You really can't.
Scoot all the way in, Stan. Just swing your feet around in front of you here, okay?
I can't feel my hand.
Okay, they're fine, Stan. I already checked them. The quicker you get in the car, the quicker we can get to the sheriff's department, and then we can get them. We can just take them right off you, okay? Put your back up against the seat here like how you would normally sit. I know it's a little tight, but I'm pretty sure you can get your back over against the back of the seat there, okay? And I do need you to do that right now. You know what I mean. Just slide that way. Try to get your back up against the back of the seat there for me.
The search revealed a substantial quantity of meth and an unknown substance, potentially meth or fentanyl.
Lovely.
Due to indications of potential drug influence, he was transported to a hospital for a blood draw.
So, why don't you go ahead and have a seat back in there again for me, and we're going to head right to the hospital, okay? All right, so I'm going to head over to the hospital here.
Law enforcement then rolled up to Stanley's residence and executed the search warrant.
Oh boy.
Julia answered the door and was subsequently arrested. Upon searching and tearing the living shit out of the residence, officers discovered multiple plastic bags containing illegal drugs and drug paraphernalia scattered throughout. More than 3 pounds of meth were seized, alongside with other substances, including heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine. Additionally, numerous empty bags commonly used for drug distribution were found, along with cash totaling over $49,000.
Holy shit!
Julia consented to investigators accessing her phone, revealing text messages related to drug transactions. Furthermore, a canine unit alerted officers to a vehicle parked outside the residence, where a search uncovered a 1-pound package wrapped in black electrical tape suspected of containing methamphetamine. Julia was eventually taken into an interview room at the sheriff's office. However, she exercised her right to remain silent. Stanley was charged with felony counts of possession with intent, meth, fentanyl, maintaining a drug trafficking place.
I don't know why you're getting
counts of
autocorrected.
resisting obstructing an officer, possession of drug paraphernalia, and operating with a restricted controlled substance. Second offense. All repeated charges.
Jesus.
Julia was charged with felony counts of possession with intent, meth, fentanyl, maintaining a drug trafficking place, and misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia. All repeated charges too. Subsequently, both were each given a $500,000 $100,000 cash bond and eventually indicted on federal drug charges, ultimately being found guilty. The third male who was with Stanley during his arrest was released on a $2,000 signature bond with conditions. As of April 2024, Stanley received a federal prison sentence of 11.5 years, to be followed by 5 years of supervised release. Julia, on the other hand, was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison, also to be followed by 5 years of supervised release.
God.
Want a deeper...
Damn. That is some heavy fucking charges. Holy shit. Wow. That is, Jesus Christ. That is some heavy shit. That $500,000 cash bond, like 11-year sentence. Wow. That is don't sell meth, guys. That's all I can say. Don't sell meth. Don't sell drugs. Just don't do that. All right, we're going to go to question period, but before we do, I'm going to do a quick bathroom break, coffee refill, and I'll be right back. So, let me mute, put on some music, and I'll jump right back into it. Okay. We are back. All right. Time for question period. But first, we're going to quickly check Twitch chat. I love Code Blue. Blah. I love Code Blue Cam. Nice. Big sad. Glad you're here. I like Code Blue Cam too. I like Code Blue Cam myself. Okay. Question period. Here we go. All right.
Oral questions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Unfortunately, Montreal and Quebec are not safe from the chaos that the Prime Minister caused in British Columbia when he legalized hard drugs. In fact, the Public Health Director of Montreal has suggested moving forward with that same legalization.
What?
Will the Prime Minister reverse course on his radical position when it comes to legalizing drugs?
Who in their right mind looks at what's going on in BC and goes, yes, that's a great idea. Let's have that here.
That he already imposed in British Columbia? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, let's take a moment.
Any bets on how long Trudeau's gonna stay in the House today? Any bets? Any takers? I bet he's gonna stay maybe 20 minutes.
Moment here to reflect on what occurred yesterday.
Oh,
you had to censor the Leader of the Opposition because he refused to withdraw his unparliamentary language. He was engaging in political attacks about a huge human tragedy in British Columbia. Now, we, of course, take this tragedy seriously.
Really?
We act with compassion. We act based on facts and evidence. We will support British Columbia as they transition and adjust their pilot project. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Their pilot project? Dude, 2,522 people are dead in 1 year. That's not a pilot project. That is a exercise in abject failure. Is what that is.
So, does he rule out legalizing hard drugs in Montreal? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition knows full well that our government acts based on facts and teamwork with provinces. The province of British Columbia requested a pilot project. We're working with them. We studied it with them. We gave them the green light for their pilot project. We have not received such a request from any other provinces. If other provinces wanted to
They've received a rescinding request from BC.
Have a similar project.
Why are they not rescinding it?
And make a responsible decision based on the facts and based on precedent in other places.
Position.
Right. So he is opening the door to legalizing hard drugs in Montreal and perhaps in other cities.
You mean the leaders of the provinces that are no longer leaders of the provinces? You can tell he's full of shit because he's talking in French.
Yep. We're against it.
Minister legalized smoking meth in hospital rooms, shooting up heroin in parks next to children, using hard drugs on public transit. The British Columbia government has asked him to reverse this legalization for parks, hospitals, and transit. Will he? Yes or no?
He's pissed. Poilievre sounds angry. Like there's no like flowery language today. He's just pissed. 15 minutes. You give it 15 minutes, Fury?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the opioid epidemic is hitting families, communities, and individuals right across this country and has for many, many years. That's why we are continuing to...
Let's see here. Let's jump over to our mini feed. Our mini feed. Oh, workout time. Let's do the solo cam. Solo cam. Rawr. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Thank you, Mr. Fury Kitten.
Going to use an approach grounded in compassion, in public safety and public health,
Grounded in
and
compassion,
facts-based decisions. We responded to British Columbia government's asking for a pilot project. We will, yes, work with them to adjust it in ways that they see fit. It's important to make sure that BC continues to do the things that it needs to do to keep people safe.
Who's the little beard he has that backs him up? Chrystia Freeland?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He still refuses to answer the question on whether or not he will reverse himself. He made the decision to exempt hard drugs from the criminal law so that it became legal to smoke meth or crack in a hospital room, including around nurses who are breastfeeding their kids. This has caused chaos, and 6 British Columbians are dying every day that he delays. So will he announce that as of today, he's changed his mind and he's reversing his legalization of hard drugs in BC? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, a number of years ago, British Columbia approached us with a pilot project that they wanted to bring in.
Yes, and they regret it. Are you going to help them fix it or no?
Crisis, that was hitting British Columbia around the opioid epidemic.
We worked with
them as they developed this pilot project, and now that they are asking for modifications to that project, we are looking at those modifications, and we will work with BC as they seek to adjust their plans around public health and around dealing with this opioid epidemic.
Modification.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, there is no time to waste. The BC government asked him to reverse his legalization of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in public places on Friday. Every day, 6 British Columbians die of overdoses under this policy, and many more die as a result of drug-induced crimes.
Yep.
So there is no time for bureaucratic and political considerations.
No.
Will he announce now that his experiment with legalizing hard drugs in BC is over? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, you will understand if I take it with a little skepticism when the Leader of the Opposition says this is not about politics, because he has been the one that has been pointing out vulnerable people and trying to pursue ideological aims on this ongoing public health crisis. We have consistently stepped up to work with provinces, with municipalities, with jurisdictions, indeed, including by moving forward with British Columbia as they wanted to try a pilot project, that we are working with them to adjust in ways that make sense. We understand the urgency and we will act.
You understand the urgency, then it's Thursday. It's been 6 days. It's been... Oh my God, just do it.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker.
So the answer is no.
I've felt reassured for a while because I was sleeping very poorly. But reassured for a while because I've felt reassured for a while because I was sleeping very poorly. But now things are better.
I feel like that was a mistranslation. Let's hear that again.
Working with them to
I've felt reassured for a while because I was sleeping very poorly, but now things are better. Wait, the NDP, they're going to vote with the Liberals for this budget, but the Bloc, we will vote against it.
Does anybody understand that sentence? I've felt reassured for a while now because I wasn't sleeping very well, but now it's better because the NDP's gonna vote with the Liberals and the Bloc isn't. I think the leader of the Bloc Québécois went to BC to have some of that meth. I'm just saying.
Now I'd like to read you something, Mr. Speaker, said by Ms. Amira Al-Gawabi. She said, "We are determined to defend the values of religious freedom and equality in our Constitution that are at the very core of our democracy. This is why we challenge this discriminatory and unconstitutional law." Well, Mr. Speaker.
On a dépassé le temps.
The member used all his time.
What?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as a government, we chose to build bridges and links throughout the country. We invested in infrastructure everywhere in the country. That's how we build bridges.
What
but
the
we
fuck
also
just
build
happened?
bridges by committing very thoroughly to different
I feel
communities
like
across
I
the
need
country.
to
We
be
listen to
high
all
to
point of views,
understand what
and
is
we
happening
understand
right
how
now.
important it is to defend fundamental freedoms, the freedoms of all Canadians,
I feel
regardless
like I
of
should
their
be-
origin, their faith, or their language. And we will continue to be here to stand up for the
I need alcohol. Some.
Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That is how we build bridges among Canadians. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, we're not talking about the same type of bridges. I am talking about the type of bridge that Ms. El-Gawabi is supposed to be building between communities. But as has been said, the privilege of one is the unfairness or injustice of another. Ms. El-Gawabi and her attitude, as well as the halal mortgages, this will make it such that different communities, Haitian communities, South African communities, they won't have the same privileges. So how do they explain this inequality in privileges? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in a pluralist and diverse society like Canada and like Quebec, it's important to talk to communities, to hear all of their concerns and to meet their concerns and help them with them. That's how we have a free, open, and resilient society. We will continue to listen. We will continue to be here to listen to many communities, including the Muslim community in Quebec. They are very concerned about the provincial legislation. We will continue to listen to all Canadians everywhere in the country, and in doing so, we will build a stronger society.
Then leave.
Thousands of Canadians are boycotting Loblaws this month. They're taking action because the Prime Minister refuses to take on the corporate greed which is driving up prices for Canadians. The Prime Minister has set up a grocery task force, which has done no tasks and has no force. Today, Loblaws reported their profits are up by nearly 10%. Liberal announcements aren't going to cut it. Why is this Prime Minister letting big grocery rip off Canadians?
Big pharma, big oil, big grocery, big tech. Oh my God, big. Big is bad, apparently, except for government. Big government is good now.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, like many others, we are concerned with the refusal of Loblaws and others to sign on to the Grocery Code of Conduct, which we know will protect consumers, will protect growers across this country as well. We will continue to...
The Bloc Québécois... The Bloc Ramble ran out of time and now Trudeau gets to run his mouth. Leave the halal mortgages alone, they're stealing from their own people.
Impress upon them, using various means at our disposal, the importance of signing on to that Grocery Code of Conduct. We have also increased the Competition Bureau's ability to go after big groceries in terms of the competition or the uncompetitive options they're giving to Canadians. And we've also moved forward on other ways of supporting Canadians through groceries, like with the National School Food Program announced in our budget.
We don't want that.
The Honourable...
We don't want a fucking national school food program. We want actual groceries in our actual homes that we can actually pack in our children's backpacks.
Member for Burnaby South.
Continues to rip off Canadians and Prime Minister is not stopping them. Les gens savent que...
People know that they are being ripped off at the grocery store. The Prime Minister has failed in protecting people. So many Canadians are tired of waiting for the Prime Minister to take action, so they've decided to boycott big grocers. This is a total leadership failure from the Prime Minister. It is his job to protect Canadians, but he prefers to protect the record profits of big grocers. When will the Prime Minister review his priorities? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to work with big grocery stores to ensure that we can increase competition. We also want them to sign on to the Grocery Code of Conduct.
I love how there's
I think it's
never
a positive
how.
thing that Canadians are expressing their displeasure with Loblaws for refusing to sign on to the Grocery Code of Conduct for big grocers. We will continue to be here for Canadians. We will increase competition. We're also there for Canadians through the school food program, which will help 400,000 more children in Canada study with full stomachs. We're here to support families through these difficult times, and we will always be here for Canadians. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The decision is on his desk to reverse the legalization of hard drugs in British Columbia. The BC government has admitted that it was wrong. They decided not to go ahead with the full 3-year pilot project that the Prime Minister brought in place by exempting hard drugs from criminal law. Will he do as the BC government has done? Admit he was wrong today so we can start saving lives?
It's a very simple
The Right Honourable
question.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from the beginning, we've been there to work on an evidence-based, science-based, compassionate public health approach to the opioid epidemic. And
the evidence-based approach that says when there are drug addicts around, let's enable the drug addict, enable the behavior, enable the destructive behavior. That's totally what the evidence says. That's totally what the evidence says. Enable the behavior.
And that included responding to BC's request for a pilot program. Now that they are asking to adjust this pilot program, we will work with them to adjust it in ways that make sense for them. But given the new, more reasonable tone of the Leader of the Opposition, I wonder if he might take this opportunity to reassure Canadians that he does not support extremist nationalist organizations like Digalong, nor wants their votes.
He already did. He already did say that, like 2 fucking years ago. Jesus. You're playing catch up due to mobile internet? No worries. Big grocer, ho ho ho, with the Jolly Green Giant also be classified as big farmer?
The Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that is false. And furthermore, there are 6 people dying every day in British Columbia. There is a 380% increase in overdose deaths in that province under this Prime Minister's legalization and subsidization of hard drugs. Enough trying to score political points over the issue. Do the right thing. It is on his desk. Will he announce today that he has changed his mind and reversed legalization of hard drugs? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, as I said, we're working with British Columbia to adjust...
No. Are you going to sign the fucking piece of paper?
Their parameters and their desires around the pilot project. We will always be there to work in order to keep Canadians safe. At the same time, I will point out that the Leader of the Opposition refuses to say a simple thing, that he condemns Diagolon because they are a white nationalist violent organization, that he rejects the endorsement of Alex Jones, an extremist conspiracy theorist.
Oh my God.
Who denied the deaths of 20 kids at Sandy Hook. These are things that concern Canadians that he should also answer for.
No, it doesn't. You know why? Because we know what actually was said, and we know what actually happened, and we don't care that Alex Jones said Pierre Poilievre seems good.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, this is the Prime Minister who has to answer for the people who are dying every day due to his policies. And worse still, he's now considering decriminalizing hard drugs in Toronto. The City Hall has made a formal request for him to use powers under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act to do in Canada's biggest city what he already did in British Columbia.
Yeah, we don't need that in Toronto. I'm sorry. If that happens, I do not want it. I don't have a say, and it won't matter. But I will be fucking terrified for Pincalo to have to go drive in Toronto. I don't need that shit. I don't need to be like on the phone with Pincalo and some fucking methed out asshole tries to get in the van while he's driving through Toronto.
Today I wrote him a letter asking him to change his mind and reverse his position and make clear that he will not legalize hard drugs on buses and in hospitals in Toronto.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, we see fear-mongering going on by the Leader of the Opposition.
Fear-mongering?
I will recall for people that a number of years ago, the City of Vancouver approached us with a desire to decriminalize in their city, and we said, no, we would not do that for Vancouver. We work with provinces and public health systems. That is why we move forward with British Columbia on a pilot project they wanted. In regards to any other province, whether it be
it's
Quebec,
not true that the mayor or that City Hall has reached out to you from Toronto to ask? That's what you're going to try to say? I want to see Jones sue Trudeau for defamation at this point. Yeah. That's a great idea.
or Ontario or anywhere else, we will work with the governments in place on proposals they may or may not have to deal with the opioid epidemic. That's all.
Did he just say academic?
You still won't clearly answer the question, Mr. Speaker, which is doubly concerning because Toronto has been overtaken by crime and chaos since he brought in the catch and release policies under Bill C-75, C-5, and C-83. Violent crime is up 40%. We just heard the tragic story on Monday of a liquor store robber crashing into a family, tragically killing grandparents and a precious child.
Yep.
The assailant was out on bail. Will he repeal catch and release?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I believe if you or other parliamentarians or indeed Canadians look at the transcripts of these questions and answers, they will see that I actually did answer the questions the Leader of the Opposition posed to me in terms of how we were going to work with British Columbia and how we would work with any province that came forward with positions to try and help with the opioid epidemic. We would examine.
You've been in worse situations.
Those on their merits.
I
but the Leader
know,
of the Opposition
but still.
has not answered Canadians' concerns about why he will not condemn Diagolon, the far-right extremist organization, why he will not reject the endorsement of Alex Jones, noted conspiracy theorist.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, he has not answered the question whether he would expand decriminalization elsewhere. He's using vague references to jurisdictions, but it's his jurisdiction alone to grant exemptions under the Controlled Drug and Substances Act. So, will he admit that his real plan is to take the decriminalization of hard drugs that he imposed on British Columbia and do that in all the provinces and territories across the country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
No, Mr. Speaker. I think for 8 years, for almost 9 years now, Canadians have seen that our approach on the opioid epidemic is grounded in public safety, in public health, in compassion, in funding frontline workers, and doing things that work.
Public safety. I'm sorry. I seem to remember reading a story about a safe injection site near a school being closed because they had signage that was like, turn in any used needles you find for chocolate bars. That is insane.
To save lives and help people. And it is not to have some sort of secret plan, as he proposes.
Bullshit.
But if he wants to talk about secret plans, he would probably do well to actually clear the air for Canadians about his seeking for support amongst members of extremist white-ring organizations like Diagolon.
White ring?
Well, to actually clear the air for Canadians about his seeking for support amongst members of extremist white-ring organizations like Diagolon.
What's a white ring?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that is again false, but the government is now suddenly and only partially changing its message on decriminalization. The Prime Minister's Minister of Addictions is out now saying she's waiting for more information from British Columbia on its request to recriminalize crack, heroin, meth, and other hard drugs in hospitals, transit, and parks. Mr. Speaker, there are 6 people dying every single day. What more information does he need?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there are dozens of people dying every day in provinces right across this country from the opioid epidemic. We could talk about the challenges faced in Alberta. We could talk about the challenges faced in Ontario. We could talk about the challenges faced right across the country. And different provinces and jurisdictions have different approaches. Some work better, some haven't worked as well. We will continue to be there in a
haven't worked as well.
rigorous, science-based way to work with jurisdictions on directions that work best for them and adjust those proposals and those responses as necessary. That's what a responsible government does.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
How the fuck is that a secret plan?
Mr. Speaker.
What an actual delusional gibbering
The Prime Minister is challenging, through Ms. El Gawabi, a law of the National Assembly of Quebec and to create a law for a minority within a minority, which did not even ask for a law. It's a religious law. Now, I respect the Muslim community at least as much as the Prime Minister does, but is he truly building bridges by creating privileges, or by creating divisions, rather? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as the Bloc leader knows full well, we, as the federal government, when Bill 21 reaches the Supreme Court, we will participate because we are worried about the impact of Bill 21 on Quebecers. We will have our voices heard then. So yes, we do have opinions, and we will share those opinions regarding how to better protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Canadians. That said, we will always work toward offering everyone the same opportunities so that everyone can buy a house, so that everyone can have a better future, because these days young people are really struggling. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers want our law. Quebecers' money is going to the Liberals' huge deficit, and it's going to go toward a court case to fight a bill that Quebecers want. Can he condemn what Ms. El-Gawabi has done and tell her to respect the right that Quebecers have to live in their state, a secular state? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Canada is a democratic country. Quebec is a democratic province. As such, citizens can challenge legislation through their legal system. They can challenge legislation they disagree with. This is what many Quebecers are in fact currently trying to do because they disagree with Bill 21. That is their right as Quebecers to challenge legislation that they find unfair. That's what's occurring. It's fully legitimate. And
oh yeah, the El-Gawabi chick. She's the one that refuses to take off her keffiyeh in Parliament. Ah. Hey, Costin.
And these Quebecers challenging Bill 21 are not less Quebecois than other Quebecers.
In Canada's biggest city, gun crime is up 66%. It's 100% nationwide.
Damn.
I just shared the tragic story of someone out on bail slamming his car into an innocent family. 2 wonderful grandparents dead. A beautiful baby dead. He was out on bail under the Prime Minister's catch and release C-75. How many more will have to die before he repeals catch and release and brings jail, not bail, for repeat offenders?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will highlight that we worked with provinces, including many provincial conservative leaders across this country, to bring in bail reform. We'll continue to work on things that are keeping Canadians safe. At the same time, the leader opposite talks about gun crime. We move forward with some of the strongest measures on gun control that this country has ever seen. A freeze on the purchase of handguns, a total ban on assault-style weapons that has been in place for 4 years. These are the kinds of things that the Conservative Party and its leader have consistently stood against, even as we move to make our communities even safer.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The key word is fundamental.
Guns that he claims to have banned and promised to seize 4 years and $40 million ago. How many has he seized?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there are thousands of different types of assault-style weapons. There are thousands of different types of assault-style weapons that for the past 4 years have been rendered illegal to sell, illegal to buy, and illegal to use, including at a gun range. Mr. Speaker, we are now working on a program to allow those owners to sell them back to the government for them to be destroyed and get money so they can go buy other guns or other products if they want to that will be legal. This is about fairness, even as we move to keep Canadians safe. Unfortunately, the Leader of the Opposition wants to make those assault weapons legal again.
You're right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
All those weapons are still legal, Mr. Speaker. You can still own them. The Prime Minister says he's going to seize them. He's going to buy them. He spent $40 million doing that. So I'm going to ask again.
How many has he seized?
How many guns has he bought? Just the number.
Just the number. Just
the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as the Leader of the Opposition knows, we are in the process of establishing that buyback program. The priority was making sure that those guns were no longer available to buy, to sell, to bequeath, or to use, Mr. Speaker, and that has been the case for 4 years. Now, what the Leader of the Opposition is conveniently refusing to opine on is the fact that he has committed to the gun lobby across this country that he would reverse the 2020 OIC that banned those assault-style weapons. He wants to bring those assault-style weapons back, or he can contradict me right here.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I will contradict him because they're not banned right now. It's perfectly legal for people to possess those guns. They are easy to possess, and not one of them has been. The answer to the question is that he has not seized a single solitary one of them. He spent 40 million tax dollars that could have secured our ports and our borders, and he hasn't taken in a single solitary gun. Is that why gun crime has risen by 100% since he became Prime Minister 9 years ago?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I will note, as
not one of them has been. The answer to the question is that he has not seized a single solitary one of them. He spent
I didn't touch anything. What the hell just happened?
Tax dollars that could have secured our ports and our borders, and he hasn't taken in a single solitary gun. Is that why gun crime has risen by 100% since he became Prime Minister 9 years ago?
In fact, that guy was the one going the wrong way down the 401.
I will note, as did everyone in this chamber, that the Leader of the Opposition did not deny that he will be reversing the ban on assault-style weapons. He doesn't even think it exists right now. Well, Mr. Speaker, it does exist right now. It is illegal to buy, sell, or use any of those weapons. When the amnesty ends next year, it will be illegal to own them as well. We're giving an opportunity for people to sell them back to the government. That is what we are doing to keep people safe. That is what he will not commit to keeping.
The Honourable Member from Nunavut.
In Nunavut, the Arctic Children and Youth Foundation administers the Inuit Child First initiative to help kids. But their great work is being made difficult by this government's delays. Close to 70% of requests were not processed on time, leaving traumatized children without the health care they deserve. When will this Liberal government finally ensure First Nations and Inuit children can get the care they need in a timely manner?
Haven't I told you this already? The Liberals hate Indigenous people.
For your question, I absolutely agree that there is more to do. Over the past years, we have made significant historic investments in Nunavut, in
because you made legal gun owners criminals, you fucking piece
the Northwest
of shit,
Territories,
right?
in the Yukon, in responding to the health needs, particularly of Indigenous, Inuit, First Nations, and Métis children. We will continue to step up. There is more to do, but my work with Premier Ahiaguk and others is entirely focused on delivering more services to young people in a timely manner, more housing, more infrastructure, more health care. These are things we are working on. We will continue to do that work.
Where's that? You know what I need? I need that sound clip from Robin Williams' stand-up show. Liar! He's an asshole and so am I!
The Honourable Member from Courtenay, Alberni.
In the last year, deaths related to the toxic drug crisis are up 17% in Alberta and 23% in Saskatchewan. Every toxic overdose death is preventable. But in provinces with Conservative premiers that don't have safe supply or decriminalization and don't believe in harm reduction, deaths are soaring. Alberta is on a trajectory to have the most toxic drug deaths per capita in Canada by June. Treatment, recovery, and harm reduction go hand in hand. Will the Liberals finally make sure all Canadians whose lives could be saved have access to these life-saving supports?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I thank the member for Port Alberni for bringing up those stats that show that there are real challenges around the opioid and toxic drug supply epidemic right across the country. Every step of the way, this government will continue to be anchored in a compassionate, evidence-based approach that looks at it as a public health crisis. We will work with provincial governments across all jurisdictions to move forward on measures that support and save lives. That is our commitment to Canadians. That we will continue to do.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel.
Speaker, the federal government is committed in promoting Canadian values, such as inclusion, diversity, and acceptance. As elected members of this House, we are all responsible for our conduct in this chamber and outside of it. Yesterday, our government called out the Conservative leader for his behavior, for his courting of a far-right, white nationalist extremist group.
He didn't court
Instead of standing up to apologize and distance himself from them, he has shockingly doubled down and threw a temper tantrum. Can the Prime Minister please tell this House what impacts the far extremism and its enablers have on vulnerable communities and Canadians?
Wow.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
What we saw yesterday from that side was unbecoming of anyone who aspires to leadership.
I'm sorry. You're the one who was sitting there saying things like spineless and white nationalist and all this shit. But he's the problem. Wow. So
His refusal to denounce white nationalist extremism cannot and will not be overlooked by Canadians. Far-right extremism and its enablers pose real and dangerous threats to marginalized communities. This is not something as a country we can stand for, and on this side of the House,
this is not something as a Canada we
never will. Unfortunately, that leader cannot say the same.
I'll get back to this at the end of the House, end of this question period, but I encourage all members to continue, aside perhaps from the last question, to continue in the positive vein, which I think Canadians have noticed that members have been taking today. The Honourable Member, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
2 years ago, after having doubled the rent, doubled mortgage payments, and doubled the needed down payment for a home, the Prime Minister promised in his budget that he would double home building. Here we are, 2 years later, and home building is down 8%. His housing agency says it will be down next year and the year after that. If it cost him $89 billion in programs to bring home building down, how much would he have to spend to bring it up?
Oh, shit.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
$89 billion over the last two budgets.
Focused on fairness for every generation. We, over the coming years, will be unlocking 3.8 million new homes by cutting red tape, by rezoning, by lowering the costs of home building, by using public lands and vacant office buildings to build affordable housing for Canadians. We will be reviving the dream of home ownership for young Canadians by making it easier to save up for a tax-free down payment and giving renters credit for their monthly rent payments towards the ability to get a mortgage. We've put forward the most comprehensive, ambitious housing plan this country has ever seen.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The only thing it doesn't do is build homes. Since he made the most recent promise in 2022 to double housing construction, the number of builds is actually down and expected to continue to drop next year and the year after that, according to his own housing agency. Yet, he says we should all be assured because once again, he's spending tens of billions of dollars on the problem that he created. So can you tell us, in what year will home building actually rise? Which year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know well that the federal government has an important role to play in ensuring housing starts across the country and ensuring the opportunities for Canadians to buy their first home, to move forward up the equity ladder. These are things that we know we have a role to play in. But we are not alone in that, Mr. Speaker, which is why we are challenging and encouraging municipalities and provinces to also step up with ambition in our national housing home building plan.
Just do it
This is
our
why
way, or we
we're
won't
putting
give you
incentives
transfer
on the
payments.
table. We're putting investments in the pockets of municipalities, including with our accelerator fund. There is more to do, but we will be doing it in partnership.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Jesus fucking Christ, he said the same damn thing Poilievre did. Holy Christ, the delusion is real. Yeah. Like, Trudeau, I think Trudeau actually believes this shit.
That's what he's been saying for 9 years. And the result has been double the rent, double the mortgage payment, double the down payment. And just this week, a survey showed that 72% of Canadians who don't own a home believe they never will. Canada was not like this before this Prime Minister.
No.
And surely it won't be like this after he's gone. The Prime Minister a comment on what it's like to be the only Prime Minister in history to deprive an entire generation of home ownership.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the government that was in place before I became Prime Minister had a housing minister who is now the Leader of the Opposition, in a government that explicitly said that the federal government had no role to play and no responsibility towards building affordable housing across this country. So for 10 years, there was very little, there was almost no federal involvement in building homes across this country. So for 10 years, there was very little, there was almost no federal involvement.
He can't even get that lie out. He can't even get that lie out.
Involvement in building homes across this country. We turned that around starting in 2017, and we will continue to invest, to create opportunities, to create fairness for millennials and Gen Z so that they can buy.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, he did turn it around, Mr. Speaker. 9 years is obviously too long for him because he's starting to attribute to the previous government words he said himself.
Yeah.
He was the one who said the federal government is not responsible for home housing construction or affordability. That is after he doubled the cost. When I was housing minister, we built 89,000 apartments at an average rent of $973. Since then, the rent has doubled, the mortgage payment has doubled, the needed down payment has doubled. So with all this failure, why is he doubling down?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our Housing Accelerator program, our comprehensive plan to build more homes, to make sure that Canadians can see themselves in home ownership once again, is exactly what we are continuing to invest in. The fact that they can't see themselves in
home ownership right now
I pointed out that we
is
cannot
your
build
fault.
homes alone, that we need partners in the provinces and municipalities. But I never denied that the federal government needs to continue to act on housing. That's why we've done that since 2017. That's why we're continuing to do it now.
Bullshit. You
we
never
need to make
denied
sure
that
young Canadians have opportunities their parents and grandparents have. That's what we're stepping up for. That's what he refuses to do.
The Honourable Member for Avignon-La-Métis-Matane-Matapédia. Today marks the start of this government's biggest contribution to global climate warming, Trans Mountain. With this pipeline, the Liberals are ensuring that our dependence on oil will continue for decades to come. All of the Prime Minister's nice rhetoric will never erase this simple fact. Canada is one of the largest oil producers in the world and intends to remain so.
And that's good.
And the
We
Prime
should be
Minister tell
selling.
us
We
how
should
this
be
$34
way richer
billion
than we are.
investment in oil is good news for the fight against climate change. Let's hear it. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this project is in the national interest. It will create more jobs. It will increase Canada's GDP, and it is fully taken into account in Canada's climate plan. But when we talk about what is coming into force today, I thought my honourable colleague was going to talk.
I wonder if Pierre has already put the clip up on his own YouTube channel yet. Probably.
About the dental care plan. Starting today, thousands and thousands of seniors will have access to dental care. 1.8 million seniors have signed up, and starting at 1 p.m. this afternoon,
and it's still not approved by Sun Life.
1,200 seniors who'd had
Dentists
appointments
don't know where to
receive
be reimbursed.
dental
What's
care
reimbursed?
free of charge. We will continue to deliver for seniors. The member for Avignon La Métis Matane Matapédia. None of the Liberals' climate change measures will be able to offset Trans Mountain's impact on the climate. All this government's environmentalist claims will never be as eloquent as its big pipeline filled with tar sands oil. All the carbon taxes, the heat pumps, the planting of billions of trees are simply unable to make up for this $34 billion investment in fossil fuels. And don't worry, the Conservatives will preserve their beautiful pipeline. My question to the Prime Minister, is the opening of Trans Mountain good news for the planet?
And how much petroleum went into every single
The
piece
Right
of
Honourable
clothing you're
Prime
wearing,
Minister,
Mr.
Speaker,
Good
for
question.
Canada to continue to invest in the energy transition, for us to continue to invest in solutions and help for Canadians, we need to have good prices for our resources currently. But as everybody knows very clearly, we have a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We have plans to create tomorrow's economy. But today, we will continue to do what is necessary to be able to invest and create those green technologies, that renewable energy, and that future that our children and our grandchildren in Quebec and throughout the country are counting on.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Le Premier ministre a déjà...
The Prime Minister has already doubled the national debt, adding more to our debt than all previous Prime Ministers in our history combined, with the Bloc support, which has voted for $500 billion in budget allocations. The Leader of the Bloc has never voted against a single one. Today we learn that the Prime Minister will continue increasing our debt.
Oh my God, lady.
By $300 billion. This will increase interest rates on mortgages by how much? The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, we know very well that the plan from the opposition leader is austerity and cuts in services that Canadians need. But on this side of the House, we recognize that Canada is in one of the best fiscal positions in the G7 and the entire world. We have the lowest deficit in the G7. We have the best debt to GDP ratio. And we have the third largest AAA credit rating economy in the world. We are
Fuck
there.
you, cunts. These fucking people have no idea what oil makes. Nope.
To invest responsibly because a confident
Not
country
one
invests
thing.
in its people and in its future. The Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's decision with the support of the Bloc to double the national debt means that we are paying $54.1 billion on interest alone on the debt. That is more than we spend on health care. It's the total
that is insane.
Of GST. So every time Canadians buy something, the GST simply pays rich bankers. Why is he wasting our money on rich bankers instead of on services to Canadians? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, the waste that the Conservatives accuse us of is wasting our money on child care centres, on more child care spaces. They accuse us of wasting money on dental care. They accuse us of wasting money on investments in Northvolt, Volkswagen, Stellantis, and Honda to ensure there are careers for generations to come in a greener economy. They accuse us of wasting money.
Nothing beats the healthy green glow and energy that comes from nuclear energy. You're right.
By investing in seniors to protect their old age security. They accuse us of wasting because they just want austerity and cuts. But, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to invest responsibly in Canadians. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, families are already living in austerity.
Yep.
The government is living in abundance. People are poor. The government is rich. The more the government spends, the more things are expensive. For example, interest rates are high, and spending and loans from the government are making things go higher. The Department of Finance's public servants, have they told the Prime Minister how much this will increase interest rates on families' mortgages by borrowing another $300 billion? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yeah, but he doesn't care.
Mr. Speaker, we know very well that Canadians are facing an affordability crisis. That is why we are there with solutions for them.
That is why we're
We've
there with
reduced
money
the cost
printers.
of daycare by half throughout the
To
country.
make the
Aside
inflation
from
go
Quebec,
up
where
higher.
we've invested in more childcare spaces. We're there to invest in dental care for the most vulnerable seniors, for youth as well last year. We're there to invest in our students, in jobs for the future. We are there to invest in Canadians. The Leader of the Opposition is proposing cuts and austerity in his ideological approach, and it is misled. The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle. Mr. Speaker, since 2015, our government has been committed to promoting shared Canadian values, diversity, respect, and equality
Canadian
among all
values,
Canadians. We all learned last week that the Leader of the Opposition visited an encampment.
Oh my
I'm just going
God.
to interrupt the Honourable Member. I hope she will have a question that relates to the government administration. She has 15 seconds left, but I hope she will get to the heart of the matter. Can the Prime Minister tell this House how the government will protect Canadians from extremist groups and what responsibility all political leaders have? Thank you.
Groups.
The Right Honourable
Wow.
Prime Minister.
Protect Canadians from extremist
governments
groups,
are
yet the
responsible for
IRGC
protecting
is
the
allowed and
well-being of all
Hamas is thanking
Canadians,
the Prime Minister
including
for his
Canadians in minority situations,
Jesus
groups
Christ.
who are mistreated, or groups who are typically ignored by the majority.
You mean like
we are
you,
there to
who
invest
ignored the
and to
indigenous
protect
groups?
those people. When someone who puts himself forward to be the next Prime Minister of Canada continues to court extremist groups, white nationalist groups, he should at least explain himself to Canadians. Why is he courting those people or condemn them? The Leader of the Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister is not worth the cost of debt interest. He doubled our national debt, adding more debt than all previous Prime Ministers combined.
Mm-hmm.
And now we learn in his new budget bill that he's going to seek another $300 billion of debt, money that he will borrow out of the economy. That's equal to over 10% of our GDP, which will
Jesus
surely
Christ.
put upward pressure on interest
No,
rates.
thank you.
How much will all this government binge borrowing add to the mortgage payment of the average family?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, allow me once again to set the facts straight. Canada has one of the strongest fiscal positions of any country in the world. Certainly the lowest
well,
deficit
that just
in
makes
the
everything
G7,
you're doing
the best
okay,
debt to
then.
GDP ratio in the G7, and it's continuing to decrease. And we are the third largest economy in the world with a AAA credit rating, the top credit rating by the agencies that look at fiscal sustainability of governments.
No
All
one in
that
their
is
right
on the
mind is
backdrop of
except
further investments we're making,
those who are
generational
completely
investments to
devoted should
support
never be a
Canadians.
politician.
Contrast with the ideology of the
I
Conservatives, which is
agree.
to leave Canadians to fend for themselves, cuts and austerity.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we actually have the highest mortgage debt of any country in the G7, and
That
by
is
far
not
higher
a good
as a
thing.
share of our economy than the Americans had during the mortgage meltdown.
That
now,
is
interest
insane.
rates are
Holy
higher,
shit.
and families risk losing their homes. Government deficits push inflation and interest rates higher. That makes the problem worse. So once again, how much will $300 billion of yet more debt add in mortgage payments for the average Canadian family? How much?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is mixing different factors that are facing Canadians. Mortgages are high for Canadian families, and therefore the Canadian government is choosing to invest in measures that are going to support Canadian families. I talked to a family from Burlington who actually saw their mortgage mortgage payments go up because of the rise in global interest rates, while at the same time...
Global interest rates! Oh my God. Oh my God. It's global interest rates, huh?
At the same time as their child care fees were cut
global
by
interest
larger
rates.
amounts
It's
because
not what
of
I'm
investments this
doing.
government made. We're
It's
going to continue to
everyone
be there
else's
for
fault.
Canadians while the Conservative leader wants cut.
The Honourable Member from Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, the government has a responsibility.
Oops. Okay. Oh?
I apologize to the Leader of the Opposition. I miscounted in terms of the questions that we're keeping track. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, inflation and higher interest rates, the costs Canadians pay for the spending that the Prime Minister told them was free. It's not free. Nothing is free. Every dollar he spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians directly through taxes or indirectly through inflation and interest rates. Now he wants to do another $300 billion of binge borrowing. Will he put aside that radical scheme and instead accept my common sense plan to fix the budget with a dollar-for-dollar law so we can bring down interest rates and inflation for Canadians?
Here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have been there to invest for Canadians responsibly. We still have one of the top
You can say that with
A-rated
a
economies
straight
in the
face.
world. Our fiscal plan is sustainable and responsible. However, the Conservative leader still wants to make cuts to programs, cuts to our military,
cuts to programs
the
that are
initiatives that are helping
jurisdictionally
Canadians
not
across
your
the country.
job.
The things that we are doing are helping Canadians grow for the future in a responsible way, and that's why we're seeing inflation come down and interest rates will be coming down, I am sure, in the coming months.
I'm sure. Believe me, bro. The interest rates will totally come down. I swear.
Now it is time to the Honourable Member from Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, the government has a responsibility to tackle misinformation and disinformation in Canada. Furthermore, the government has a responsibility to tackle hate and discrimination across Canada. And it's shameful that the Leader of the Opposition posed.
That's fucking funny. He just said the Conservatives want to cut the military's money. Who just threatened the generals of about $1 billion? Global, not your own mismanagement. Fuck you.
For photos with extremists who push hateful rhetoric. Can the Prime Minister please tell the House how the government is taking these matters seriously?
How many times are Liberal MPs going to ask the same question?
Canadians have every right
about
to be worried
extremism?
about the opposition leader's refusal, including multiple times during this question period, refusal to condemn violent extremism. But they shouldn't be surprised. Over his 19 years in politics, he showed Canadians time and time again that he will do or say anything to get elected. That includes pandering to extremists one day and pretending to stand with the very vulnerable communities those extremist groups target the next. Not only is this reckless, this is a failure of leadership. Canadians deserve better. Canadians deserve leaders that will stand up for them every step of the way.
The Honourable Member from Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Canadians with disabilities have been ignored by Liberals and Conservatives for decades. The result? They can no longer keep up with the costs of living. And
no longer? Bitch, where the fuck have you been?
The Liberals' solution? $200 a month. That's not even enough for groceries.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Canada's richest CEOs are still
rates drop
receiving
after he is
$60
deposed, he will
billion
take
in
credit.
corporate handouts started by the Conservatives.
That's right.
With the Liberals and the Conservatives, Canada's ultra wealthy get richer and people with disabilities get crumbs. Why has the Prime Minister abandoned Canadians living with disabilities?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Canada Disability Benefit is a monumental step in our strong and unwavering commitment
Yes,
to creating a more
$200 a month
inclusive
is very
and fairer
monumental.
Canada. We're now moving forward with the first step of the disability benefit at the cost of over $6 billion over the coming years. It will put hundreds of dollars a month tax-free in the pockets of the most vulnerable persons with disabilities, and we're continuing to commit to creating a better, fairer country for generations to come.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, more than 20 economic organizations in the country have raised a red flag over the major risk of failure in the implementation of a new computer software scheduled for May 13th to manage Canada Border Services Agency assessments and revenues.
Oh, God.
After the financial and human disasters
Another
of Phoenix
computer
and
program?
Arrivecan. It would be a catastrophe to have a third failure, again costing millions of taxpayers' dollars. Can the Prime Minister tell us whether his government intends to postpone the implementation date and what he intends to do to ensure that this doesn't turn into another IT fiasco that would cost millions? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are very aware of the concerns from different groups in this sector and from the Canada Border Services Agency. We are working closely to ensure we have a success and so we can set up a better software. We know that digitalization will ensure more security, more efficiency, more speed in our international trade and when people are crossing our borders. So we will continue to advance on this, but we will do it attentively and aware of the risks and also of the
Blair at least understood basic
positive
math.
side of a new software. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Colleagues, I indicated that I
He
would
just admitted hundreds of dollars a month. Yep.
Come back.
Because 200 is technically hundreds. So like two is hundreds. He's not wrong.
An issue
It's
that
more than
came up in
100.
terms of a question earlier today that didn't deal with the administration or the business of the administration of government. I'd like to let all, I intervened on another question which I thought was going in that direction. It seems to have been a...
Oh, okay, so that's the end of he's going after okay. So that brings us to the end of yesterday's question period. That brings us to the end of the stream. That was frustrating as fuck. Holy shit. That was so fucking frustrating. I can't, the amount of just pure lies he's sprouting while saying that Poilievre is lying is just insane. Right, Fury Kitten? Who'd have thought a big software issue would cause lots of problems? Ugh. Alright, guys, that's gonna be it for the stream. Thank you for joining me. I will be back tonight for the combat hour, so be sure to join me for that. And of course, I'll be back for tomorrow's coffee stream. So thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I will see you later. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for the views and the donations and everything. You guys kick ass. I'll see you tonight. Bye.